Hi, my name is Alessandro Angelosi and that's a video tutorial coming from segicookie.com for Max Cookie. This time I'd like to come back to the plasma arcs created using PFlow, and I'd like to work a little bit on the rendering side and the compositing. We have to talk about some problems we can have with this kind of scene. First of all, I like to set the final render resolution. So we are talking about 900 and 400 close, and there on perspective shows a frame. So that's our frame. We can scale a little bit to see the entire sphere there. Okay, and we can create a camera from this point of view. So that's our camera. Let's select the sphere and let's make let's say that this one is not renderable, and then we make a clone as a copy, and this will be the glass one. So this will be the one we'll render. So we have a low poly version just for the collision, and an iris version for the rendering, and we can go maybe also for 100. So it's a really precise rendering. Let's go with the right mouse button, object properties, display as box and renderable. So that will be our sphere, and let's go to save, and we'll go in the right folder. Okay, and we'll have a new 3ds Max particles plasma arcs with PFlow part 2. Let's copy this name, Ctrl C, and there Ctrl V. Okay, so that's our basic scene. We have a main big problem. We have to render the glass, and using one of the rendering engine from 3ds Max. So I'm talking about, for example, Mint-Ray or I-Ray or Final Render or Brazil or V-Ray or something like that. But we have a problem because we are rendering the arcs particles using krakatoa. So that's the main problem. We have to find a way to render in a different way the staffs. The first possibility we have, we can split the problem in various ways to solve it. So the first one is to use the krakatoa MX2, and that's the new version that will give us the possibility to use the krakatoa as an environment effects there, and we can render it using every kind of rendering engine available for 3ds Max. And we have also the possibility to use the krakatoa material that will give us the possibility to have reflection and refraction. That's a possibility, and we'll see in the future how to use the new version of krakatoa. Another possibility is to render the particles not using krakatoa, but just some really little particles. I mean, if we have, for example, this one, and let's go inside the particles. That's the spawning, and then we have the collision. We can set to off the collision. Okay, so we have just the particles. We are using cube. Let's see the dimension of this cube. Let's go for geometry, and you see that are really big. This one can be really little because we have not to render it, so we can go for 0. And there we need another shape. Let's say again, copy and paste it there, and this one will be 1. And let's say I like to see the geometry, and you see that we have all this teeny cube there. If I have a really little proportion, let's think something like that, you see that we have the possibility to render it using all the other feature we have inside the rendering engine. So let's make a really simple test. Let's imagine to render this one using mint array, and you see that we have the right rendering engine. Let's go there and let's select an arc on design, and we go to use a physical glass and we assign it there. So if I go to render this layer using no global illumination, let's see what happened. Okay, you see that we are rendering the particles, and we have the possibility also to create the reflection and diffraction. So let's start using this way, and later we'll see how to solve the problem in another way. So let's say that we have an environment map, so let's go there, and let's use a bitmap, and we can use a basic map coming from Autodesk with 3ds Max. So let's go inside the maps, but you can use whatever else. And let's say that we have an HDR environment, and let's go for the outside one. Okay, with the default value, and let's see what happens if we render. You see that the glass now has an environment, and I like to change a little bit there. So let's go for a custom reflection IRR. Let's go for something like that. And I'm playing a little bit with the cube to have the right reflection. Let's see also for the refraction, but I like to have just a little bit of reflection, so let's go for something like that, just to the border. Okay, now we have also the refraction there, so the first thing we can do is to go there and remove the max distance, so we have just the right color. You see we have not blue, but we have to remove the refraction there from the map. So let's go there and let's create a standard, and there we go for to create an environment background switcher, and let's see to use this one as a cut and paste it there, and we have the black color. Let's see, and that's the best way to work with the environment. So we have a black color for the environment, and we have the reflection, and obviously we have still the refraction there, and we have to work a little bit to eliminate this one, or we can do another thing and we can play just using a different material. So we can imagine, for example, to have, let's go there, and we can imagine to prepare a glass using the standard material. So we can go for a black color, and then we have the specularity point, and let's see, you see that we have a complete black material, and then we have, that's the opacity, so we have the black, and let's go there, and I like to have there the reflection, so we need a fall off. We go for a Fresnel, and there I put the map, So you see we have the reflection, and I like to change a little bit the reflection to have more reflection just over there and less inside. Let's go for 1.2. Okay. And another thing we have to do is to have the refraction. For the refraction we can put the ray trace map that will be then worked as a standard ray tracing map, and you see that we have now the problem with the background again, so we can just remove the switcher and have just a black color, and you see that we have the transparency and we have just the reflection. So actually it's really more simple, because we can go there and we can just play with the material. And first of all, let's go there to have also the collision back on the scene. So that's, you see that we have everything inside the sphere, and we have also the reflection and the refraction for the movement. So this will be the simplest way. So you have just to play with the parameters there, and you have, for example, you need more particles. So let's say that we need, let's say, for example, 200, and we need there maybe not per seconds, but we need travel by distance, because when we go to render, you see that there we have a lot of detail. It's not bad, but you see that at the end we have not so much detail, and that's not good. Let's go there to have an higher upper limit. Okay. So we should need more particles there, and let's see there. We should try to have more spawning there, but let's try with 250. We are starting to have more there, but I think we need a lot of particles to achieve the good result. Let's try with 600. It seems that now we have the right level of quality. Obviously it is a little bit slower, and we need also to say there that we have a material, and let's go there and let's imagine that we have maybe something like that as material. Let's check if everything is okay. Yes, there is something strange there. Okay, we have a self-illumination, and we can use this one as material, and to use it we need a material static there. Okay, and there we can copy this one as an instance, so we can change the material from there. Let's see what happens if we try to render now. Okay, you see that we have the ray there rendered, and we have also the possibility to export the ray tracing layers and paths. So let's go there and let's imagine that when we collide with an environment, I like to have, for example, this color, so we can try to go there and have this material just there. Let's see if it can work in a really simple way. and there we should have, let's call it 4. This one there, assistance, and let's see, we should have the violet just over the collision. Actually it doesn't work because we have the material there. Let's try to move it there, and let's see if now it works. Okay, so you see that we have the violet color there, but in this case maybe we have to move it there because we need the coloring after the spawning. Okay, and that's right. So you see that we have a different color from the collision, and there we can use a bright color. Let's save this one, save as. This one can be called air, just to say that this one is rendered using array, and that's all. So if we go to render, you see that we have the possibility to render directly this layer without problems, and we have all the layers we need inside the scene. So we have to do nothing. We can go, for example, let's say maybe 80. It will take a little bit of time because it needs to simulate the particle system, and we'll see a frame with more stuffs colliding and more particles. That's the simplest way, because you see we are using polygons to render the particles, and we are able to use all the rendering engine we need without problems. Then we'll see how to use Krakatoa to render the particles, and then how to render it using some rendering engine. Now what we need is, for example, that's a frame. Let's render it. It will take time to simulate it. Then we'll need to see, for example, if we have this frame, we can render it using some layers, some passes, and this passes can be useful in comp to obtain a more interesting look. So let's wait for this frame. Then we prepare the various passes just to see a really fast way to comp the project in combustion, and then we'll see the same thing done using Krakatoa and array. So we'll see how to merge the two different renderings. So, for example, that's a result, and it is interesting because we can see that we can need more detail there because we see particles. But for the moment it's not important, and I like to work a little bit on the lighting, and we can do a really simple lighting there. We don't need something so special. Let's go for array omni. Okay. And we can say that we have 1.0. Let's go there to in particle flow source, and let's disable, so we can just play on the glass. Let's play now with the glass material, two-sided. Sorry, there. Back, two-sided. And let's see it now. Okay, I prefer this version. And then let's see what happens if we have a shell modifier, just to have a little bit. Let's say 0.5. let's go to remove the two-sided, and I go for 0.2, so really little. Okay, let's go for something like that. Okay, that's our sphere. And save. And let's see what we need for the particles, talking about the layers. Let's go for render elements. We need for sure, let's see what will be really useful, and I think we can use the self-illumination. And let's have the reflection and the refraction halon. Okay, and let's see what happens if we render that passes. We'll see what we have in output. Okay, that's our refraction, that's our reflection, and that's our self-illumination. That is occluded, I think. So, sorry. Our main problem is that we are not able to see the self-illumination because we have the sphere, so we can see the channel there for the self-illumination because we see just the refraction. Let's see what we can do to work on it, and we should be able to do something. So what we need, sorry, is to be able to do the self-illumination directly in Compositing, and we have to use some layers we are rendering. So what I mean is, now I open a combustion. I have to scale the resolution, so just give me 2 seconds to set with the right resolution we are using there. Okay. Close, and again. Okay, we have it. So now we can make a test, and to make the test I like to render these passes, and let's say we will not use a so high quality for the output, but it's it will be just for a test. So there, let's say arcs, and let's say arcs beauty dot TIFF, and let's go to set TIFF there, and 16-bit store of a channel and pack bits. Save, and the render elements will be automatically rendered in this folder. So let's render. Then we'll try to use the rendered frames and layers to make a simple, really fast comp, just to understand how we have to play with it. We can also imagine to add more layers for the energy over there. You see that our plasma arcs is really simple actually. Okay, everything is saved. Let's go in combustion and open, and then going in the right folder. Actually you cannot see it because it is on the other monitors, and it's not so simple to move it because it is using a better resolution. Okay, I'm using to create a composite, and you see that's our render, and we can use the color. Then that's the self-illumination, and we have nothing inside. Then that's the refraction, and we can use it maybe for the self-reflection, and that's the reflection. And if we like to go there and just add it, just to have a little bit more reflectivity on the border, and then you see that we have this one, and this one can be set as add, and you see that seems not bad to be used to make the reflection. What we have to do is to go there inside the color correction, and we can use, for example, a brightness and contrast to create more contrast and eliminate the other steps. You see that we have still this point, so you can, for example, render without it, and or make compositing just using the various paths, so you can render path for the specularity and comp it. So let's go there, and you see that now it seems that we have a self-illumination. So then we can go there, stylize, glow, and we can add before a really okay. So you see that we have a little bit of glow there, and then we can add another glow, and this one can be higher. You see it is bigger, and we can also Ctrl+C, Ctrl+G, use this one, and this one can be set as screen, and you see that we can decide how it is big, and we can have a Gaussian blur. So you see it's really similar to another glow layer, but you can decide how much you like to put it there or not. So you see that we have the rays there, and you can use, for example, then let's imagine to pick all the layers using the shift key, and then nesting, selected layers, and let's call it plasma arcs basic layers. Okay, that's our comp, and this one must be at 16-bit, and this one too. Okay, and there we can add a little flare, so stylize, lens flare, we have to put in the middle. Okay, we can make it little as this one, and we can decide which kind you like to have. This one is not bad. So you see that this one that is coloring also our render, so if you don't like, you can go for this one, or you can use, for example, just the center flare, and you see that then I can decide which kind I like to use, and this one can be moved in the right position. So this will be our plasma arcs, and we can use another Ctrl+C, Ctrl+D another flare there, so this one will be bigger, with a right coloring, something like that. And this one, you see, it's maybe can be not used, so you can have there just for the reflection only. And you see I can put in the position I like and decide which one. So we can go, for example, for this one. And as you see, we have acute plasma arcs with the right energy, just using polygons. So save workspace as, and I will save inside the folder you left so you can check it. Okay, and this one will be called 3ds Max particles plasma arcs with PFlow part 2. And let's say I'm here, so you know that this one is done using Mentoray. Okay, now we have to play with the other one, the one done using the Krakatoa rendering engine, to see how we can merge the stuffs all together. So let's go back in 3ds Max, and we can imagine to start playing with Krakatoa. So we have some layers that can be used for the rendering, and we can go there just to render the Krakatoa path. So let's remove the saving there and the render elements, and then I like to play a little bit with the particle flow source. And for the moment we can go back to have we have the material, so that's all. We can go inside Krakatoa to play a little bit with it. So rendering engine, assign render, and we have to unlock, and there we can still maintain Mentoray, and there we have to use Krakatoa. Okay, so we have it. And now if we go to render one frame just to see what happened, let's wait, and you see that's our rendering. So you see we have something similar to the other render, but we can do something. We can add, for example, a light. Okay, so this will be will have more lighting and at the middle. Okay, and we can have an attenuation. Let's say that we have attenuation there, and we have the start attenuation maybe there. Let's see what happened. You see that we have more light. Let's go to have less space there. Okay, and let's go in Krakatoa, and let's see what do we have there. Let's see with less density. So we have more shading due to the illumination. Let's go for 0.05. So you see we have more light there and less light on the outer side. 002. Okay, then let's go for 1.5, and I like to have there 60, maybe less, to have more fall off for the lighting, and there we can go for 10 and 2 for the illumination. Okay, so we have more light there and less light there, but let's go for higher light, 5, maybe more, 10. So I like to have a really huge lighting there and less lighting all around. So let's say that there we can go for 45 or 40. Okay, so we have a really high lighting there, and let's go for more, something like 15. Okay, perfect. Then let's see with the image motion blur what we can obtain. But before, I like to save the scene, and this one will be called key R. Let's say with more passes, let's try with 10. Okay, it is not moving so fast, so we'll have not so much problem to render it, but I like to have 10 passes. Then I like to add, let's remove just for a moment the enable there, and let's see inside the global render, override the emission, override color. Let's see if we have the override emission, if we have a better look. It is a little bit better. And let's see if we have a strange color for the lighting there. Okay, and it is not so visible, so I think we can go without the emission and just use the absorption. Something I like to do is to add another things done by the particle system. So I'd like to add another particle flow, and I like to go there, select the PF source, but we can just maybe so we can directly go there, and we can have another particle system, and we can use a PFlow, and then go there. Okay, we need the same emission there, copy, so delete and paste. We don't need the rotation, so this one can be delete, and there we need the same bird. So we have -60, okay, so we'll have -60, and we'll have particles until 500, and we'll have obviously more particles. Let's say that we see all the particles there. Okay, the speed will be random 3D, and will be 150. Let's set to off the particle flow source 1, and I like to see it is obviously too fast. Let's say 10 centimeters. Okay, we'll do a delete there, and we'll say by particle age, let's say 35 and 10. So you see we have particles flying away, let's say maybe 45, sorry, and we'll have also a drag, and will be -60 and 500. So we need to add the force there. So let's go for a force, add by list, and we'll have the drag. So you see we have the dragging inside, so we can give the particles more speed, or we can delete it later. So let's try with more speed, and let's save 10. Let's go for dots, or maybe lines. Okay, let's go back to dots, and let's try to have more. So now I like to see what do we have in rendering. So let's render just this frame. Okay, we have these points, and let's see with the I like to add just for a moment the motion blur. Okay, it seems that the particles are really slow, so let's go inside the particle flow source, particle view, and there I like to add more speed. Let's try with 45 and 20, but we have to kill it before, so 30. Okay, and let's see what happens. Okay, so we see we have a little bit of force there. Let's go there to have a little bit more damping. Let's try with 10, 10, and 10. Okay. Perfect. It's just to have some particles coming out. So another thing, these particles should be, let's go there. Maybe we should go for blue particles. So there, let's go for something like that. Okay. Then I like to have some particles coming away from the main arcs. So to do this test, we need maybe to speed up the particle system. So let's remove for the moment the collision there. And you see that we have there the spawning, and maybe we need another spawning event. So maybe something like that. Paste this one, and let's say maybe 50. And we send this one in the same path. But maybe we have to use a different way. Okay, so don't use this one. Let's delete. Let's set to on, and I like to have a spawning there, so let's go to have a spawning, and this spawning will be just for 2%, and let's see what happens. Okay, we need to make the collision. Okay. We have some particles there going away. Now I like to see if we are talking about points or something different. So let's go back. Ask. let's try to render just this frame to see what we have. Okay, we have these particles there, and we have something coming out, but it's not so visible, so I need to say to not use the ones, but go for a rate that like this one. And now we can again set to on. Let's wait, it will be a little bit slower. One thing I like to do before is to add another feature to the second particle system, because the first one is too slow using the spawning, so we have to find another way. And for the moment what we can do is to add another force there, just to have a more interesting thing. By list the wind we are using for the other one, so you see that we have a little bit of chaos there. So let's render again just this frame to see. We have obviously no motion blur, and I like to see what happens if we use 5000 for the influence there. You see that we have a little bit more chaos. Sorry. Let's try checking with a little bit more influence for the drag force. Okay, let's try with more power. And just playing to see how it looks. And there, let's try with 1000. So a really huge amount of chaos, and there again. So you see it's really a little bit of chaotic force there. Okay, save. And let's see with motion blur what happened. Okay, it is not so fast. Okay, what we like to do now is to go back to the other particle system, and now I like to see all together, and then I like to try to add again okay, you see that we have the particles there, and I like to see what happens if we have, let's say, a particle flow source copy. So this one, edit, clone, and break the link using the delete wire, and then we need the same stuff there, so copy, paste, and then this one, copy, paste, and we are connecting. And I like to delete this passes before, so we have no collision. And let's see what happens if we have this one, and let's say that the spawning is lower. Let's try with 150, and this one is set to on. So you see that we have the particles all going away, and let's say that those particles Okay, add a little bit of divergence, and let's say that maybe when we have the collision, so copy, paste, we can have it again the same, so copy and paste of the same event there. Let's connect. Now it will take a little bit. Okay, and then you see that we have a little bit of speed spawning there. So let's say that we'll have a little bit more speed, let's say 1.5 and 0.75. Okay, let's try to render this layer. Okay, you see that we have something really all around the particles there, and the others will be more precise. So let's see what happens if we have also the first one in rendering and save. Okay, so you see that we have something around the other layers, and we can just maybe have more particles there to give a more interesting look. So let's see what happens if we have more particles again there inside the spawning, let's say 250. So you see more staffs. Let's try to render. So it will be a more dirty look instead of the other one. So you see that we have some particles flying away. Okay, I think that it is ready and it can be rendered to play inside the compositing. So I just rendered 300 frames, and we can check the frames I rendered inside the same folders I used before. So let's see what we have. It is really slow, so maybe we can use also a faster view. You can see that, for example, if we go at 350 frames per second, obviously we should need more particles to have a better result, because this can be not so good inside the compositing, but we can make a test. So let's go in, let's save, let's go again in combustion, and you see that's our previous comp. Let's remove the self-illumination, and let's say that this one is 300 frames, and also this one is 300 frames. Then we have to import the footage, and I'm importing the KR. You see that the alpha is really low, so the problem we should have is that we have a really low alpha, and we need to use an higher alpha. So if you need to solve this problem, when you are rendering there, you need to use an higher density. So in Krakatoa, you have to use there a final path with an higher density, or you need more particles to have the right density. So for the moment we can solve the problem directly in compositing using just the color path, but we have obviously to set it as screen. So you see we have it. And one thing we can do is to you see that the beauty is this one and it's not okay, so we can need to have the same reflection. Let's see there to have just the color path, and we can use normal. Okay, and this one, let's check, it's set to color and that's okay, and we say to use for 300 frames. And this one will have brightness then we have, you see the reflection there, and the reflection will be set to add, so we have a good reflection. Then we have the arcs there, and we can remove this path there, and it's 1, 2. So that's our actual result, and we have to play a little bit with it. Okay, I like to play a little bit with it, so we can, for example, use this particle path. I'm doubling. This one can be set to, this one is set to screen, and the second one will be set to add. Let's see the differences. You see that it's a little bit visible. And then we can use another path, copy, paste. Obviously, if you are rendered in the right way using the compositing the 3ds Max scene, you'll have no problem with it. So this one will try to have normal, and then set to screen, and we try to have a little bit of blurring, but I set the wrong blur. Let's say blur, Gaussian blur, a little bit, and we can have a little bit of color correction. Let's try to use add, and a little bit of glow. So let's go in stylites, glow, okay, and let's see when we have everything. Okay, I like to see what happens if we have another path as this one, copy and paste over it, because I like so much this way. So maybe this one should be less visible, do something like that, and maybe we can add another path as this one. So copy, paste, and this one can have a glow. Okay, and let's go back to this one. I like to have more blurring. Let's go for screen. Okay, we have a lot of things there, so I like to check step by step. Okay, that's the main. Okay, we have the reflection. So let's see, that's the first pass, that's the second pass, that's the third one, and this one, and again this one, hover it, and maybe this one is not so good, so maybe it's better to stay without it, so this one can be removed. Okay, so that's our pass rendered, and you see that it seems working, and we have no refraction. Actually, I save this project as key R, so you know that we are using Krakatoa. So what we need, if you like, is to have some distortion over there. And you know that we have, for example, let's see there, distort. We have, for example, the displacement. We have a magnifying glass. We have something. Let's see what we can do with the stuffs we have. And it should be useful to prepare a simple pass in 3ds Max. So let's pick the previous scene, the one done using Mentor Ray. Let's hide everything, so isolate. Okay, and this one will use a really simple shader made using the ambient occlusion, and we say to use the, let's see, the band normals, and we'll go there to have a self illumination. Sorry, no, we assign it, and we render a frame. Okay, let's see the elements. We don't need elements, and render. Okay, that's our path made using the normals. I save it there. I call it arcs normals.tif, and we can go back to the key R if we have to do something. Then we can go back to combusting. Let's import the footage, the last one, the normal. So you see that's our path. And let's see what happens if we have, for example, there inside the distort, the displace, and I go to select this one, this layer, and you see that that's the displacement we are obtaining. Let's go for luminance and luminance, but it's not so good as displacer, so let's remove, and let's see whatever we have there, because we need to use something that can distort using another layer. So let's go to check. Maybe we can make a test just using this one, but I'll change a little bit. So I go to contrast a little bit to have more, something like that. And let's see if we have a little bit of coloring, maybe something like that. Let's see if we have this layer in this way. But you see that the problem is that it is moving too much. This one, I mean, we are doing something, but it's let's say with 4 and 4. You see, we have a little bit of distortion there. Obviously, it's not so precise. In other compositing software, we have a better way to do something like that, but it's something we have to use in a different way. So let's say that if you have an external plugin that gives you the possibility to make distortion using the bent normals, is the best way to achieve it. So you see, we have not so much possibility. For example, you have there the sapphire, and you can do something more interesting using the sapphire, but we can see if I have something different there. The offset is not okay. Let's say other things. We have the pinch, their sides. We have not so much things, so I can do nothing so good. So for example, that's the first thing we can do is to have a little bit, you see, done using this pass, and that's a way to have a little bit of distortion. So you see the main differences, but it's not the best way. You can play a little bit there with the coloring and the brightness and contrast to have a better result, but it's not so good. So I prefer to have different ways, but I save it so you have all you need to do some testing. So as you see, that's the result we are obtaining. It's not bad. Obviously, you can add more particles at the rendering to have less point and more energy all around. It will be a really good result. So I had to render with not so much particles just for timing purpose, but you can do it as you prefer. So for the moment that's all, and in the future we'll see, for example, how to make this thing using Krakatoa MX2, just to start introducing this new plugin. And for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you back on Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Bye.